Welcome to the DNS and DHCP lab. So basically what we're going to do is going to implement DNS, and then later on, maybe in a separate tutorial, we'll do DHCP. DNS is a little bit more complicated than DHCP, but there's a few things that we'll need to make sure. So in our Hyper-V manager, just need to make sure that all of the VMs that we're working with are going to be in the Hawthorne network. And we have to double check the IP addresses are in the same subnet, otherwise this is going to fall over. So once I've fired up Hyper-V, I've got all these servers here, and we'll go to 22 DC1. Let me just double check that these are all in the Hawthorne network. So if I right click settings, Hawthorne, you can see there. Also, if we go back, cancel, and the other machines, that virtual machines we're working with, are going to be server 1, if I could, up here, that needs to be in the Hawthorne network. Yep, perfect. And also the CL server, which I think I've passed it. Yeah, that one will be also in the Hawthorne network. Perfect. So what I'll do is I'm going to fire them all up. Actually, I should start the main controller first, just out of habit. Start that one, and we'll start server 1. And we'll start the CL CL101. S1, yes, that one. Not, I chose the wrong one before, but I've just double checked that one, the settings. It's in the Hawthorne network anyway, so that would have been okay. And we'll fire that one up. Perfect. We'll need to check that they're all in the same subnet, just in case. So I'm just going to connect to there. Should take, takes a bit of time, but you can put the state and you can put them in order. Makes it easy for you to find which one's running, which one's not. Just going to connect to that one. And connect to that one as well. So I just want to make sure we're in the same subnet, just in case. Otherwise this lab will fall apart. Okay, fantastic. So we'll log into here. The password is the PA55W.RD. It'll be the same password for all of the servers. We'll let that load up, and we'll do the same for the other ones too. These labs are a little bit long, but DNS does take a bit of work. So that one's running. That's good. Okay. PA55W.RD. Great. Okay, so we're getting them running now. So first things first, let's just make sure we're getting IP addresses everywhere. They're correct, the same subnet IP. Just type CMD. Takes a while to load up because it's only, I think they only have 4 gigs of RAM, so you should put a lot more than that. But for lab purposes, it's okay, but it just takes a little bit of time, a little bit frustrating. All right, command prompt. All I want to do is find the IP config /all. Okay, great. So I've got the 172.1632. That's the subnet that we're working with. Perfect. Let's try the other virtual machines. So my head's in the way. Yep, we'll minimize that one. My advice is once you set up your server, stop that dashboard from loading. It's annoying. I need to put my head somewhere else, I think. Put it over here. Looks a bit weird because I'm looking that way because my screen's to my right. So maybe I should move the screen to the left. All right, so we'll jump over here and then we'll do an IP config. Great, we're on the same subnet. You can see the 1632. That's a good start. We can close that, minimize that, close that, minimize, and we'll check one more time for the other virtual machine. All right, so command. This is a client machine. CL stands for client, by the way. IP config /all. Outstanding. So we have they're in the same subnet. So that rules out any kind of issues in terms of when the DNS is starting to work and your client machines are trying to get DNS information. Everything. We've ruled that out as an issue. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to start implementing DNS. So in this scenario here, we've got a domain controller already. That's the only DNS. That's the only domain control. Sorry, that's the only DNS server in our system at the moment. Let's prove that really quickly. You can go into this manager here, the service manager, and you can see that it's there. Active Directory cannot function without DNS at all. So that needs to be there already. Otherwise the domain controller just won't be able to install it. So we've got the one domain controller here. We want to make another one. And the reason we want to do that is for redundancy, to make and ease the Active Directory, the domain controller, sorry, is working hard already. Want to release some of that burden. Especially if you've got like a branch somewhere, you can have a DNS server somewhere in a branch, so it doesn't always have to go to the central domain controller. So we're going to install the DNS on this server over here. We're going to add a new one. And we'll also configure things like zone transfers and create that as a secondary zone. And we'll do some things like time to live, aging, and scavenging. Scavenging is a really interesting name. It just means that we're just going to any of the records that are not needed, we will remove them. It does that automatically. So, all right. So first of all, let's create a reverse domain lookup. We'll go over to the domain controller over here. Oops. I think I have to move my head here permanently. It's just annoying because I'm looking that way. Okay, never mind. We'll work around this. Okay, now, so first things, we're going to go to the server manager. And we're going to set up a reverse lookup. Okay, so let's jump over into DNS. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. And the reason I'm doing it the old-fashioned way is it works. It really works, really. It's very efficient and smooth. There we've got the DNS server there, and we are going to now right-click, reverse lookup zones. I like to refresh just out of habit. We're going to right-click and we'll click new zone. Next, and we'll go to primary zone. Now I'm doing this unedited, so sometimes if it doesn't work, we'll fix it on the go. Or I'll cancel it and I'll start again until I get it fixed. But I want to see if we can if I can show you how to fix things if we don't do things correctly as well. All right, so we are now going to make sure that, let's go back, yeah, primary zone. We'll click next. This one's an interesting one. This is, I couldn't see the difference because it's just that one word there, but forest or domain. Well, we'll stick with the domain, but you can have that forest wide if you like. So this is just a replication of these zones to other DNS servers. We are going to choose reverse lookup zone. And the ID that we're going to choose is, I'm just going to write this down as 32.16.172. And that'll automatically put that there. Yeah, that's just, oops, I'll do that again. Perfect. That automatically writes that reverse lookup name there. And I think we just accept all the other values. Yeah, the other values are not going to make a significant impact on how that runs. Great. So we've got a reverse lookup. That just means that you can have a host one day with that IP address, and you can change to another host. So instead of changing IP addresses all the time, you keep the one IP address all the time. And if you need to add a new host that performs a particular role, you keep that. So you keep that same IP address. It's instead of searching for an address in human readable terms, we're doing it on IP instead. Okay, perfect. So now what we do is we right click. I'll just double check something really quickly. And I noticed that I just made an error there. I wrote, it's a really strange one. I'm just going to delete this one. I'll show you what the mistake was. So basically, when we create the new zone, it should be, when we come to this section here, you should write the normal IP address, and it does that reverse for us already. It will do that for us instead. So I wrote it as the reverse, but follow the instructions that I showed you on this way and the second way, and that's much better now. So what we want to do now that we've got that is that we want to create a resource record pointer. We want to point this to a server now. So we could point this to another server if we want to. If we bring another server in, we can point it again. So that's the reason this IP address stays the same, but the servers change. That's why you have reverse lookups. That's why you have pointers as well. So we're going to right click over here and we're going to select new pointer. And we're going to choose the host name. Now in this situation, we are going to choose this one here, I believe. Or you can just type it. swin22 dc1.swin.local, and hopefully it'll find it. No, it can't. The IP address is invalid. Okay, so we have to fix that IP address up here. I think that should be better. I'm going to point it to SW, just double checking. Don't like that for some reason. I think I've done something silly there. Yep, I have. DC1. Okay. .swin.local, and that should be, let's browse that. Swin, that should be, yeah, that's the one that we're after. Great. Press OK. Fantastic. So now we're pointing to that server all the time now. Great. Now, we're going to install a DNS server on the server side. So that new server that we've got up and running. See this one here? So that's the server we want to install DNS on. This will be a secondary zone. So our primary zone is here, but our secondary zone is here. And we're pointing to this server. Okay. It's a bit confusing. Maybe the explanation is not that crash hot. There's something that you need to do a little bit of reading on and a bit of research. But let's install a DNS server on the secondary server now. So we'll go to Manage. And we're going to add roles and features. Click Next. Next again. But I'll go back again because I want to show you something here. You'll notice the swin server and the IP address. We entered that into on the DC1 side. You might have server 2 one day, and you give that IP address to point to there instead. A lot of services rely on IP addresses and don't really care about the host. You just want to change the host now and then, the actual host itself, but keep that IP address. It's taking a bit of time, not sure why. I'll pause just to see if we can, if there's a reason for this being too long. This is taking a very long time. I'm not sure if it's crashing or not. I really don't know why it's taking so long, but I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to run a PowerShell script. If this works, I'll share the script with you. I'm going to run as administrator. See what I can do. I've asked another student if this took a long time, and apparently it did take long. Just one more look before. That's taking really long. That's unusual. All right, let's see what we can do if we run a script instead. If it works, I'll post the script so that everyone can run this as well. Right click. Let's run that script, hopefully. Looks good. Yep, great. The script does work. Okay, now, so I can cancel that now. But I'll have that script ready for anyone who needs it. All right, let's minimize this now, or should we go to the next section? Hang on a sec. Okay, good. So we have enabled and configured zone transfers. So we've installed the server role, or have we not? No, we haven't. Hang on a second. We need to install the server role. We haven't done that yet. So I'm actually surprised that that script worked. So I'm going to I'll show you the PowerShell script to install a DNS server. Okay, I was just doing a quick research in that you can actually perform this task of the zone transfer while you're waiting for the server role to install. Now, I don't have patience, so apparently that does take a long time. This stage here actually does take a long time, which is that actual that graphical user interface that we should be following. It actually does take a while. So as you can see here, as I'm installing it through PowerShell, it's taking a while. So we just have to be patient. So we'll wait until that finishes, hopefully not too long. I'm going to pause this video. Okay, after about 5 minutes, it went ahead and installed that. So that's now up and running. I'm going to minimize that because we might come back here. Go to Tools, and there you go. We've got DNS up and running. So if it's really slow, try the PowerShell command, and then it hopefully might be quicker. I'm not a very patient person when it comes to IT, so I'd like PowerShell is much quicker. You don't have to learn PowerShell for this course, but you can, there's plenty of resources out there on the internet that can show you how to do that, but I will have that code ready with this video somewhere. Okay, so now, so we're going to just check on something quickly. Okay, this is a very confusing lab. I was just double checking it. This is a really super confusing lab. I might have to look into rewriting this one or looking into it again, but we are not supposed to configure the zone transfer on server 1. It should be done on DC1. So it does say it in this written lab, but I'm going to go back to the domain controller and it should be done here. It's just really frustrating sometimes. Now let's go over to PowerShell and do it on this side. Hopefully it won't mess it up. If it messes it up, if it's an issue, I'll have to rewrite the video or re-record the video. Hopefully it should be okay. Okay, so I'm going to start that that script again. Let's copy that. That's the zone transfer script. There we go. I'm hoping it won't cause that much of a problem. If it does, I'll just re-record the video, spend another 25, 30 minutes plus. Okay. All right. It should be okay. Now let's go back over to our server. It's good to write a diagram. It's good to handwrite this on a notepad. See, it shows you what you're doing, so that you can see what you're doing yourself. Oh God, this is all right. Now let's go and install the DNS server, right? Which we've done on server 1. Okay, we've done that. Perfect. Okay, and now we're going to configure the time to live, aging, and scavenging. And guess what? We've got to go back to DC1. We'll go back to DC1. So all right, let's do this properly. So you need to go to DC1 first, and then do the reverse lookup zone. Then you have to go back to server 1, set up the secondary DNS. Then you got to go back to DC1 and enable and configure the zone transfer. Then you've got to go back to server 1 and launch DNS and create the secondary zone. It's pretty confusing, right? But the instructions, they are clear. It's just logically just messes your mind a bit. But all right, let's try this. Switch to server 1, launch DNS server, and create a secondary zone by going over to, we'll have to look for the zone here. Sorry, it's still messing around with my head. Install DNS server. So we've already done that. So what we have to do now is, okay. I'm sorry for confusing everyone. I'm confusing myself here. We've got to go back to DC1. Again, I'm not editing this. So if I was editing, this would be much shorter video and much more clear. But see what you make of this. See if you can pick up my little errors along the way. And if it's driving everyone crazy, I'll make another video that can be edited. All right, so we're back into DC1, and what we want to do is configure time to live, aging, and scavenging. Okay. All right, so now we will configure the DNS resolver to flush the record. So we want to flush this record. So let's minimize that. We'll go over here and we'll click on start of authority. So this is the reverse lookup here. Okay, so the actual tutorial is a bit confusing, and this is where this is not your fault or my fault here. The tutorial that I'm following here needs to be changed a bit, but I'm going to show you how to do this correctly. So follow these instructions, we're going to get there. So what we need to do is we actually have to go to the forward lookup zone over here, expand that, and you've got the swin.local, and this is where we need to select the properties. Over here, swin, right click, properties. Then we need to go over to the start of authority, and we're going to change the default time to live to 2 hours. So this is, I think it's only 1 hour. So we're going to change that to 2 hours. Click on apply, and okay. It depends, like in reality, it depends what the network architects, what they believe is the best way to do this. The actual time to live for the records. The longer, the more inaccurate it becomes. Maybe a server drops off an IP address is wrong. It means you have that record longer. So now let's enable aging and scavenging for the zone. And so we're still here, and we right click again, go to properties, and then we go to the general tab, and then we set aging scavenging properties. So this will go out and look for false records that are not really accurate, and it will, I think either get rid of them or reuse them, I think. Now, so we're in aging, in the zone aging scavenging properties. Check this one here, scavenging stale resource records. So no refresh, we'll leave it at 7 days. Yep, perfect. And we'll just click on OK. I think this is just best practice. I don't think it will affect the lab too much. It's just teaching you a good way of managing your DNS service, especially when it comes to the secondary service. All right, so now so that's just for the zone. Now let's do it for the whole zone, for all the zones, the primary, secondary, and so on. So go back over to we'll have to do this for all the zones. I think we do it up here. And just as I'm recording this, all of a sudden, it's 8 a.m. My neighbors just decided to cut the grass. So hopefully you don't hear that. 8 a.m. in the morning, and they're cutting the grass already on a Monday morning. Hopefully it doesn't come through the speakers. But anyway, so let's have a look here. All right, so we go to right click over here, properties, and we should, I believe, no, hang on. Okay, I don't often come and do this configuration, so this has been a while since I've done this. But you right click there, and you've got set aging scavenging for all zones. Click on that, and click that back. So that box there. So that does for the whole, for all the zones that we're configuring, not just primary or secondary, just for the whole lot. It's just showing you ways of doing this. Great. So now we're going to, yeah, we're going to apply all that. Yep, perfect. Done. Okay, so that's that. All right. Let's. I think we're getting to 30 minutes, so I better either move or so I might. I'm going to end this recording because it's getting too long, and I'll create another one for the next task. Okay. So thank you. I'll see you shortly.